My grandmother harbors a preference for males, forbidding me from joining the table during festive gatherings. My brother, in defiance, overturned the dining table, exclaiming, "In this household, the throne is open to whoever desires to occupy it. She will undoubtedly return to contest your inheritance. Grandmother is here to deal with her," he added. Yet, it was my mother who maintained her composure. In a decisive move, she transferred 300,000 to me, saying, "Do not heed such madness, dear child. Let us quell your fears." It was quite amusing. Wouldn't it be amusing if grandmother chastised me a bit more? Grandmother has always disdained me. This disdain arises not only from my gender, but also from my congenital heart condition, which has cost the family a considerable amount. When I was just over 4 years old, she used the pretext of taking me out for a day of fun, only to abandon me. It wasn't until I turned 16 that I was finally located. To facilitate the search, my father established a logistics company. By a twist of fate, he inadvertently became the renowned CEO. My brother seized the opportunity to appear on television advertisements. In a series of unforeseen events, he ascended to stardom. I watched his heartfelt reunion video on the show, deeply moved. Initially, I believed it to be merely a fabricated persona. Who could have anticipated that the lost heiress would turn out to be me? In truth, I was rather reluctant to return. My adoptive parents treated me exceptionally well, and I had grown accustomed to life in the quaint town. However, my mother incessantly sent gifts to my adoptive parents, sought their attention, and wept profusely. My brother frequently skipped engagements, claiming he wished to take me on trips. His agent has even reached out to me directly. Marketing accounts have begun drafting scandalous stories about his alleged romance with a high school student. Everyone has urged me to return to my roots, including my adoptive parents. After much deliberation, we decided to spend the new year together. The family environment is indeed quite pleasant. A standalone villa complete with a swimming pool and a rooftop garden. The largest room has been reserved for me, adorned in soft pink hues, embodying a youthful and cozy ambience. My mother, fearing I might not appreciate it, was rather anxious. To my surprise, I discovered that my brother had secretly affixed a large poster of himself on the door and tucked an old album beneath my pillow. Enraged, I chased him in jest. "Narcissist. My sister doesn't even listen to your music." "It's all right," my brother replied. "This album is dedicated to you, sister. Since you've returned, of course, it must be yours." My mother's eyes glistened with tears at his words, and I too felt a wave of sentimentality. It seemed that perhaps this home was not as difficult to embrace as I had thought. The following day was New Year's Eve. Early in the morning, my grandmother unexpectedly arrived, expressing her desire to celebrate the holiday with us. Having retrieved my whereabouts, my parents had yet to inform our relatives, and my grandmother was unaware. Upon entering and catching sight of me, she froze, her local specialties scattered on the floor as she stared at me in disbelief. I resemble my mother, but bear an even closer likeness to my brother. It would be easy for anyone to deduce our connection. "You, Mom, this is Miao Miao. We found Miao Miao," my father exclaimed, a hint of excitement in his voice. He failed to notice the expression on Grandma's face, as if struck by lightning. "Qian, do you remember Grandma?" my father inquired. I forced a smile, observing the increasingly rigid countenance of the elderly woman. She must have hoped I would forget, but alas, my memory remains vivid. She had taken me on 3 bus rides to a distant park, claiming she would buy me ice cream, and then she never returned. The details of my abduction have faded from memory. Yet, her coaxing tone and the image of her departing silhouette frequently haunt my nightmares. "Did I ask Grandma unhappy?" I asked her. Grandma snapped out of her reverie, quickly mustering an awkward smile. "May the heavens bless us," she replied. "As long as you come back, that's all that matters." It seemed my parents were unaware that she had abandoned me herself. Indeed, before dinner, she approached me with subtle inquiries. "Qian, how's your health?" "Not so well," I deliberately responded. "I might require surgery in the future." Grandma's expression shifted. How much will the surgery cost?" I casually mentioned a figure, several 100,000, perhaps. Grandma dropped her facade and laid her cards on the table. "Qian, please don't take offense to my harsh words. Your adoptive parents have invested considerable effort and resources in raising you, haven't they? Returning to our home like this would surely sadden them greatly." I chuckled. Indeed. Alimony, medical expenses, living costs, compensation for emotional distress. How much do you think is appropriate, Grandma? She clutched her chest, wearing an expression of profound distress. In truth, my parents had long broached the subject with my adoptive parents, but they steadfastly refused. Miao Miao is also our daughter, my adoptive father asserted. As long as she is healthy and happy, we desire nothing in return. Reflecting on them, I glanced at my acerbic grandmother. Alas, the disparities of the world. Very well. Such a young age, yet all you think about is money. I see you as nothing but a bringer of misfortune, a harbinger of ill luck, coming to disturb our festive season. When you wandered off as a child, your father struck it rich and established his company. Your brother excels in both academics and appearance, and he is now a prominent star. All of this is thanks to me. Grandmother scolded, pointing her finger at my nose. Tomorrow, you shall return to your own home. This is not your abode. Observing her furious demeanor, I felt no irritation whatsoever. I retorted, What do you mean, Grandmother? Why should I express gratitude for all of this? She faltered momentarily, her expression grave, as she scrutinized me, seemingly assessing whether I recalled the matter. I prompted her. Is it so difficult to mention the fact that you abandoned me? With a clenched jaw, her eyes narrowed to slits, almost inverting with intensity. What do I have that is difficult to speak of? This is the most prudent decision I have made. Given that you remember, how dare you return? I should never have discarded you. I should have extinguished you. Or perhaps cast you into the river to drown, so that your relentless specter of debt would cease to haunt me. I smiled at her, quietly preserving the recording. She remained blissfully unaware. During the New Year's Eve dinner, my father had reserved a table at a restaurant in advance. Uncertain if my grandmother would attend, he only booked for 4. The matter of adding an extra seat became a vent for my grandmother's frustrations. According to our old customs, girls are not allowed at the dining table, she proclaimed. It is inauspicious. My brother immediately scowled, adopting a defensive posture, crossing his arms and casting a disapproving glance at our grandmother. It is best to refrain from reminiscing about your antiquated traditions. If you truly have nothing better to do, perhaps you should collect some cardboard to sell. The occasion of the dinner did not turn out as intended. My grandmother shot me a glare, sheepishly falling silent. Yet, rather than tempering her behavior, she only intensified her remarks. When the pomfret was served, she declared that girls must not eat fish, as it would render them dull-witted. When the sea cucumber soup arrived, she insisted that girls should not consume too much nourishment, suggesting that a bit of shrimp would suffice. As the pan-seared foie gras in red wine made its appearance, she cautioned that girls would gain weight if they indulged. The lamb stew, she warned, would cause excessive heat in their bodies. Finally, when a plate of roasted chicken was presented, she allocated one leg to my brother and the other to my father. They, like the previous dishes, offered me only the most delectable morsels. Finally, my grandmother could no longer contain her frustration. Can a mere girl consume so much? My brother, with a cold demeanor, cast his chopsticks aside and retorted, Is this incessant chatter ever going to cease? Either eat in silence or leave us be. Do not disturb our family gathering. It was evident that my brother was quite irate. With fervor, he proclaimed, She is my little sister. If she desires dragon meat, I shall procure it for her. If you are displeased, let your brother fetch it for you instead. The blessings of the children and grandchildren belong to them. When will you comprehend this and cease to burden us? What's wrong with being a girl? Aren't you a woman yourself? Times have changed. Stop imposing antiquated notions upon my sister. She is well-behaved and considerate, too shy to speak harshly to you. But I am not so restrained. Given your scant regard, I refuse to yield. My grandmother trembled with indignation. Have you lost your mind? Is she truly well-behaved and considerate? Absurd. She is a deceitful scoundrel. You have all been duped by her. My grandmother pounded her chest in frustration, exclaiming, This afternoon, I attempted a casual conversation with her. And what did she do? She opened her mouth and demanded money. At this revelation, the entire family fell silent. My brother, incredulous, turned to me. Sister, is this true? My grandmother gazed at me with triumph, envisioning a scenario where I, having just returned to the family fold, was cast out. To my astonishment, after my brother spoke, he suddenly embraced me. Seizing the moment when I was unprepared, he raised his phone and captured a snapshot of our faces as if it were a posed photograph. When he spoke again, his voice was imbued with remorse. "I apologize, dear sister, but I can only give you your New Year's money tomorrow. However, I have just provided you with intimate access. You may indulge freely without any limits. First, let us have our meal, and afterward, I shall take you shopping. By the way, shall we watch a movie?" My mother, her eyes glistening with concern, grasped my hand and repeatedly apologized, saying, "Dear child, I am so sorry. It was my oversight." Suddenly, a notification chimed from Alipay, 100,000 yuan. I was taken aback. My grandmother looked as if she had seen a ghost. "Have you all lost your minds?" At that moment, my father spoke up, "Mother, it is we who ought to be expressing that sentiment." My grandmother was left speechless. However, my father continued, "The new year is a time for family reunions. And do you know how I feel each year during the celebration?" He struck his chest with conviction, his tone heavy with sorrow, "For 12 years. Every year on this day has been the most agonizing for me. While others are joyfully reunited with their families, what about me? What about my family?" My father's voice quivered with emotion. My mother, too, was beside him, weeping uncontrollably. "All these years, I have worked tirelessly to earn money, nearly turning the world upside down in my search. After such a long struggle, I finally found her." He seemed unable to continue, pausing for an extended moment. I turned to him and noticed he had removed his glasses, wearily wiping away his tears and looking back at me. When our eyes met, he could no longer suppress the redness that filled them. He forced a smile, his tone bearing a mix of solace and a deeper sense of regret. "She has grown up. When she left, she was just a tiny little thing. And now she is almost taller than I am." He gazed at me. Sadness etched on his face as he lamented, "I cannot even bear to imagine how much I have missed over these 12 years. Alas, it is I who have wronged you. My dear, though I am usually indifferent to matters of the heart, I find myself stirred in this moment. Yet he has not wronged me. The one who has caused me sorrow is another." I lowered my gaze and then turned my attention to my grandmother, only to find that, in response to my father's heartfelt confession, she displayed nothing but irritation. "Enough, enough," Grandma said. "Since you've found him, make sure to teach him well," she added. "I wonder how many bad habits he's picked up out there." My father suppressed his sorrowful expression and shot a piercing glance at Grandma. "Mother, did you fail to comprehend what I just said? Allow me to clarify. Regardless of any financial considerations, if it comes to my life, I would not hesitate for a moment." Grandma stared at my father in shock. "Pish, pish, pish. During the new year, why are you speaking such nonsense? You are aware that during the festive season, there are certain things that should remain unspoken, are you not?" My father slammed the table in anger. "Mother, you are my biological mother, and Miao Miao is your beloved granddaughter. How could you, and why would you treat her in such a manner?" My father had always held my grandmother in high regard, never once defying her wishes. This overt accusation was unprecedented. My grandmother began to ramble incoherently. "What have I done to her? As for my dear granddaughter, what harm is there in my saying a few words? She is the one who came asking me for money. Am I not entitled to speak the truth?" No sooner had she finished speaking than my phone chimed again. Ding. "Payment received on Alipay, 100,000 yuan. My grandmother completely lost her composure. Gazing at my mother, who was engrossed in the transfer, she shouted at me, "You little troublemaker. The Su family has endured generations of misfortune, and now I am burdened with a wretch like you. If you dare accept this money today." Ding. Payment received on Alipay, 100,000 yuan. Another notification sounded. Finally, my mother lifted her gaze, casting a fierce look at my grandmother. "Go on, continue speaking. For every word you utter, I will transfer funds multiple times." Such rebellion. I was enamored. At that moment, my grandmother was utterly defeated. Collapsing onto the ground and commencing her performance of intangible cultural heritage. "Oh, heaven above!" she cried out, tilting her head back and wailing while slapping her thigh with fervor. I can no longer endure this. My grandmother began to throw a tantrum. Is there any justice in the world to mistreat an old woman for the sake of a girl? My poor husband, if you are aware in the afterlife, please come and manage this ungrateful child of mine. My granddaughter is misbehaving outside, and I can't even say a word without it being a cause for my demise. My brother rolled his eyes in exasperation, instinctively rushing to cover my ears to shield me from the mental torment. It's fine, I replied, still unaccustomed to physical contact with others, pulling away. Yet, I was curious to see just how far she could twist the truth. In my younger years, I lacked understanding and even believed I was at fault, questioning my existence at times. Now, having matured, as the scene unfolded once more, I found it only laughable. Had I not uttered a single word, and yet she could not contain herself? Let the commotion escalate to an uncontrollable frenzy. I have yet to unveil my trump card. Do not fear, my dear Miao Miao. Come and partake in the fish, my father said, presenting the grouper before me with a meaningful glance. It is a source of premium protein. The more you consume, the sharper your intellect will become. My brother, standing beside us, could not suppress a laugh. Indeed, indeed. Come and have another bowl of soup, my mother said with a radiant smile. It's nourishing and truly delightful. She then added, if there's anything I have overlooked, please do not hesitate to tell me. Do not keep it bottled up inside. I could feel their warmth and concern, yet I remained somewhat unaccustomed to it. A mere disagreement could escalate into a tempest of emotions. I certainly couldn't allow my grandmother to scold me any more than necessary. It seemed my brother, perceiving my disarray, suddenly feigned jealousy and remarked, Dad, Mom, I am still here. Just when I thought he was about to accuse our parents of favoritism, my brother shifted his tone and said, with your actions, where is the opportunity for me to shine? By the way, sister, do you have a favorite celebrity? Tell me, and I shall bring them to dine with you. I replied, is that even possible? My poverty has constrained my imagination. Wait, have I forgotten something? My gaze shifted to our grandmother, who was still wailing. Come and take a look. Her voice had grown somewhat hoarse, lacking the initial volume. This family of 4 has reunited, and there is no longer any place for me, the wife. Upon hearing this, my brother even nodded in agreement. Yet, he offered her not a single glance, instead turning to me and saying, do not feel embarrassed. It is indeed an honor for him to be favored by my sister. Unable to withstand his persistent inquiries, I had no choice but to speak the truth, not at the moment, but should there be any in the future. I shall inform you. My brother raised an eyebrow and said with a hint of arrogance, indeed, with a brother like me, who could possibly look elsewhere? I replied with silence. My parents, upon hearing this, wore expressions of utter disbelief. Only my brother remained enraptured by his own charm, oblivious to the chaos around him. Meanwhile, my grandmother, rolling on the floor in frustration at the lack of attention to her efforts, grew agitated and attempted to throw herself against the wall in desperation. I might as well be dead. The sudden and ferocious outburst caught everyone off guard. My father abruptly rose, causing the chair to screech as it was dragged across the floor, finally capturing the attention of the onlookers. Seizing the moment, my grandmother commenced a new round of her performance, vigorously slapping her own face while repeatedly banging her head against the wall. Life seems devoid of meaning. What have I truly accomplished over these years? My son looks down on me, and my daughter-in-law harbors disdain for me. My mother was rendered speechless. Please be cautious with your words. What has happened to you? Enough of this. I have had enough of such days. Grandmother lamented with a voice that twisted like a winding path. Outside the private room, whispers could be heard, evidently drawn by the commotion. My father's expression darkened, and my brother furrowed his brow. His position was precarious. If someone with ill intentions were to expose the situation, even the most innocent could be painted in a negative light. The restaurant staff cautiously knocked on the door, inquiring if we required assistance, clearly apprehensive about the unfolding events. No need. My father had no choice but to step outside and explain, I apologize for the inconvenience. It's just family matters that have caused this spectacle. However, my grandmother, seemingly worried that it wasn't embarrassing enough, began to cry even louder, exclaiming, "Who can come and decide for me?" "Grandma." I gazed at her and spoke calmly. "Do you still remember how I went missing all those years ago?" The moment those words left my lips, everyone present was taken aback, including Grandma herself. How amusing it was. Did she truly believe I lacked the ability to speak? Grandma's sobs caught in her throat as she discreetly glanced at me from the corner of her eye. My parents exchanged worried looks, their expressions far from pleasant. My brother broke the silence, stating, "She said you ran away on your own." I scoffed quietly, choosing not to respond. In that moment, silence spoke volumes. Grandma was flustered, yet her age granted her a wealth of experience. What did I say? "Look, they have already begun to sow discord. Fourth brother. She is genuinely intent on making our family suffer. Do you still not understand?" My father replied, "Yet Miao Miao has said nothing at all. It is she who feels guilty." Rushing into cast flame, assuming that others are fools. Do you truly believe that I, your mother, am lying? I have tirelessly devoted myself to caring for your child, and yet I have incurred blame for it? Well, then call the police. The grandmother lunged at my father, striking him and shouting frantically, "Send your mother to prison." "Enough." My father shouted at her in exasperation, "Mother, what on earth do you intend to do?" Yet, my grandmother simply rolled her eyes and collapsed to the ground, motionless. After a flurry of chaos, my father took my grandmother to the hospital. Before leaving, he apologized to me, "Miao Miao, I am truly sorry. Please continue eating. Later, your brother will take you out to play." He gazed at me, as if to ensure I would not vanish unexpectedly. "Dad will be back soon. Miao Miao, please wait for him, all right?" I nodded, and only then did he reluctantly depart. Observing my grandmother's clenched fists, I let out a cold laugh. Can one feign unconsciousness for a fleeting moment, or is it a guise that can be maintained for a lifetime? Once all these tricks have been exhausted, let us see how you shall justify yourself. To my surprise, she appeared even more aggrieved. She had actually summoned a reinforcements from our ancestral home. Sweet has come specifically to take care of me," my grandmother remarked with a hint of sarcasm. "How is it that, despite being granddaughters, the disparity between you two is so pronounced? Sutian is my cousin. In our childhood, she incessantly berated me, calling me a frail wretch and a harbinger of misfortune. Now, upon seeing me, she wears an expression of disdain. Grandmother, please do not be upset. I have come this time to seek justice." "Justice?" I chuckled softly, reaching for my phone. With my cousin articulating such reasoning, I find solace. "I also have something to share. Could you assist me in hosting, cousin?" As she spoke, she opened the recording and pressed the play button. The waveform icon on the screen began to pulse, and Grandma's voice emerged. "How are you faring, Miao Miao?" Grandmother exclaimed, as if struck by lightning. Fear etched itself across her weathered face, marked by deep lines and creases. "What is this?" my cousin inquired, her brow furrowed in confusion. I gazed at my grandmother and offered a gentle smile before pressing the pause button. "You should ask Grandma. She knows." I deliberately tossed the question to the instigator. Grandma glared at me with resentment, yet she remained silent. Even my cousin was taken aback by Grandma's piercing gaze and was about to press further when my mother suddenly approached, saying, "Why is everyone standing at the door? Come inside." My cousin, clearly flustered, seemed ready to snap at anyone who crossed her path. "Auntie, we are already aware of the New Year arrangements. To be frank, my father is quite upset. He is the eldest in the family, and he cannot be disregarded." My mother, equally at a loss for words, responded, "So, fourth aunt, what is your attitude?" My cousin exclaimed, "Do you expect my father to personally intervene?" My mother nearly laughed in disbelief. I too was perplexed. When did my uncle become a deity? Were his words to be taken as an edict? Even emperors require evidence when adjudicating matters, yet she, without discernment, launched straight into accusing us of unforgivable sins. My mother would not indulge her. She retorted immediately, "Your father is so formidable. Has he ever taught you the importance of being courteous to your elders?" Unfamiliar with the rules, I returned her words. Call your father here immediately. My cousin froze, her face shifting from pale to crimson. Never mind, dear. Grandmother seemed to bear an immense grievance. Please, no more. As she spoke, she furtively glanced at my expression, clearly apprehensive that I might reveal that recording. Grandmother, please do not stop me. Su Tian, however, refused to heed the advice and insisted on escalating the matter. Disrespecting the elderly and disregarding one's superiors, my cousin shouted. Our family, the Su family, cannot tolerate such a wicked person. Even my mother, usually gentle, could no longer endure it and was prepared to raise her hand to strike her. Wait a moment, I interrupted my mother and inquired of my cousin. Is it true that the Lao Su family possesses a royal title, given the multitude of rules? Then, is it considered immoral to treat the younger generation poorly, such as through physical abuse, scolding, or abandonment? My cousin assumed I was about to retract my statement and promptly countered. It is only natural for elders to discipline the young. That was precisely the response I sought. Mother, take action. A sharp clap resonated through the living room, akin to a thunderclap, striking above the heads of my grandmother and cousin. This slap serves as a lesson for your disregard towards your elders. Before they could even comprehend the situation, my mother delivered another resounding slap, striking in perfect symmetry. I'm sorry, but I cannot assist with that. This slap, I strike you. I wish to strike you whenever I please. As you mentioned, it is the natural order for elders to instruct the younger generation. My cousin, likely unaccustomed to witnessing my mother's fierce demeanor, appeared startled, covering her face in disbelief, on the verge of tears. After all, according to the traditions of the old Su family, my mother's actions could be considered a display of compassion. You have gone too far, my cousin exclaimed, employing a tone inherited from our grandmother. Is there no sense of justice left? My mother retorted, Are you truly aware of everything that transpired on New Year's Eve? Of course, my cousin exclaimed. Could Grandma possibly deceive us? A look of discomfort crossed Grandma's face as she pulled my cousin aside, urging her to cease her remarks. Sweetie, everything is in the past, and Grandma does not wish to pursue it any further. The more she insisted, the more determined Xu Etienne became, increasingly convinced that her grandmother had endured immense grievances within their household. Without hesitation, she retrieved her phone and dialed a number. With exaggerated fervor, she declared, Dad, fourth aunt is about to kill me. You must come over right away. To emphasize the gravity of the situation, she added, Bring all our relatives. This matter demands a proper resolution. Upon hearing this, Grandma's expression fell as though the sky had collapsed. In a flurry, she attempted to intervene. Certainly not. Tian. Please don't let them come, Grandmother said, casting a furtive glance at my phone, clearly anxious about the possibility of me revealing any evidence. Unfortunately, Qiuxian had been so thoroughly brainwashed that upon witnessing this, she only believed that Grandmother was suffering in silence from our bullying. Thus, she resolutely declared, Dad, did you hear that? Hurry up. After saying this, she abruptly hung up the phone. With a defiant tone, she said to my mother, You all better brace yourselves. My mother was so exasperated that she could hardly contain her laughter. But that was not all. My cousin boldly declared, in order to take better care of Grandma, I must share a room with her. I heard that your room is the largest. Move out and let Grandma stay there. At that moment, my brother happened to descend from the upper floor. Upon hearing this, he retorted directly, Are you speaking nonsense with your eyes wide open? Your mental state seems rather unstable, doesn't it? Shall I introduce you to a doctor? Neurological conditions should be treated promptly. My cousin was met with a barrage of retorts, her expression growing increasingly sour. However, she quickly regained her composure and said to my brother, Cousin, it's surprising that you are still a prominent star. Is this how you set an example for your fans? If I were to disclose the truth, what do you suppose would be the consequences? My brother languidly leaned against the staircase, casting her a sidelong glance. When did I grow up in fear? You may go ahead and speak, he replied. It matters not to me. I have already located my sister. Do you think I care about threats involving celebrities? My cousin was momentarily taken aback, her gaze towards me tinged with a hint of envy. In truth, I had not anticipated that my brother's foray into the entertainment industry was solely to find me. A tumult of emotions surged within me. I resolved to put an end to this farce and unmask my grandmother's true nature, allowing my cousin to witness the reality of the person she was so fiercely defending. However, upon discovering that I had produced the recording once more, a glint of realization flashed in my grandmother's eyes. To my astonishment, she suddenly knelt before me with a thud. "Oh dear, it's all my fault. I've become so confused." Grandmother grasped my wrist tightly, causing me pain, while simultaneously knocking my phone to the ground. My grandmother lacks formal education, and her speech may be rather unrefined, yet her intentions are genuinely devoid of malice. The hometown treats girls in such a manner. If you don't believe it, you may inquire with your cousin. Indeed, I harbor a deep-seated resentment towards her. Yet I have never contemplated the notion of demanding her to kneel before me. Instinctively, I sought to assist her in rising. To have others witness such a scene is truly indescribable. Upon witnessing my grandmother's demeanor, my cousin became increasingly convinced that I was being excessively domineering and purposefully humiliating them, prompting her to storm towards me in a fit of rage, intent on striking me. "Such is your precious nature. Even words cannot express it. If you cannot indulge in those delights, will you not be able to enjoy this festive season, or shall you meet an untimely demise by tomorrow? Such a trivial matter has caused an uproar. Your parents indulge you, but we shall not." My cousin's voice was stern and fierce, as if she were ready to tear me apart. "With someone like you, do you truly wish to return to the ancestral home and enter the hall of the old Sioux family? Perhaps in your next life." I responded with silence. The old Sioux family, could it possibly hold a royal title? How many generations of ancestral indoctrination must one undergo to cultivate such a mindset? I stepped back to a safe distance and picked up my phone. I asked my cousin, "Does grandmother feel the same way about you?" My cousin regarded me with caution. During the New Year festivities, not even worthy of sitting at the table, unworthy of indulging in fine delicacies, relegated to the most modest of accommodations. "And the bride price must be provided for my younger brother to marry?" My cousin shouted, as if her most sensitive nerve had been struck. "Home is like this. If others can manage, why are you any different?" At this moment, I could only feel pity for her. Growing up in an environment rife with severe gender inequality, it is not surprising that she harbors such thoughts. After all, one cannot awaken a person who feigns sleep. My uniqueness serves as a reminder to her that her own circumstances are unjust. Yet, instead of contemplating how to dismantle this inequity, she seeks to eliminate my difference, as if conformity could erase the existence of unfairness. "Cease your antics. I am utterly unconvinced by your ploys," I remarked with a profound undertone. Awakened to the reality that times have changed, my cousin paused in astonishment. It seemed she grasped the essence of my words, as her erratic emotions began to subside. From a distance, she scrutinized me, appearing far more weary than her mere 2 years of age would suggest. The marks left by my mother were still evident upon her face. "Sweetie, your sister is right," the grandmother began to speak with her usual playful tone. "I never anticipated that after all these years outside, your sister would have seen so much of the world, and her perspectives would have diverged so greatly from ours. Strange grandmother, she ought not to speak of herself. Forget it, let us return to our hometown." Upon hearing this, my cousin became agitated once more. "Grandma, do not fear them. My father will arrive shortly," she said with confidence. I refused to believe that Uncle C would be so foolish as to allow them to act with such impudence. My fourth uncle cannot control them, and neither can my father. If my father is unable, there are also the elders within the clan. One must always adhere to reason. Their actions are bound to invite scorn. My brother could no longer bear to listen. In his bewilderment, he inquired, "Did Darwin overlook you in his study of evolution? During the joyous New Year festivities, when my dog barked at you, it was a testament to my benevolence that I did not chase you away. Yet, it seems this matter is far from resolved." My cousin lamented with frustration. "Brother Yuan, you truly cannot discern right from wrong. Is it not for your own good that Grandma acts this way?" Upon her return, she stirred up a tempest, What kind of good girl could she possibly be? Listen to her words, so well rehearsed. She will undoubtedly contest the inheritance in the future, and yet you support her? My brother seemed to find this an outrageous joke. Without hesitation, he called for security. Xiao Yuan, Xiao Yuan. Grandmother hastily feigned a pitiful expression to stop my brother. Let us speak calmly. Tian Tian did not mean it that way. I don't care what she means, my brother exclaimed angrily. Get out of here. Grandmother, showing no regard for conversation, lost consciousness once more, collapsing to the ground. My mother and I exchanged a glance, both rendered speechless. How many times does she intend to employ the same tactic? My cousin, however, appeared utterly distraught, throwing herself beside grandmother and weeping profusely, even attempting to capture the moment on her phone, directing her focus towards my brother. I shall expose your entire ungrateful family today. My brother stepped forward and seized her phone. He gazed at her with a cold, disdainful glare and remarked, "You are also a girl. From whence does such malice arise? Having endured the rain oneself, must one then rend asunder another's umbrella?" My brother evidently struggles to comprehend such a notion. Should I hear you utter even a single word about my sister, do not blame me for my lack of courtesy. With that, she picked up her phone and called for an ambulance. Since you are here to take care of Grandma, do so properly at the hospital. As for the expenses, we will cover them. A glint of coldness flickered in my cousin's eyes as she gazed at my handsome brother. Why should it be so? She said gloomily. Why must I be born into such a family? My brother, uninterested, turned away and approached me. He comforted me, saying, I've written a new song. Come. Let me play it for you. The cousin, feeling increasingly disregarded, suffered more. My mother, standing nearby, delivered a gentle yet piercing remark. Your birth is not your choice, but your mind belongs to you. If one does not rise up on their own, others will find it impossible to extend a helping hand. My cousin wore an expression of utter disillusionment as she gazed at my mother, then turned her gaze towards me. The jealousy in her eyes transformed into admiration. Let us ascend, my brother said as he led me upstairs. The pretext of singing to me was merely a fade. He had discerned that something was amiss with me. My brother expressed his concern, saying, It is quite strange that Grandma suddenly changed her attitude. She is not the kind of person who can be swayed by mere words from others. From now on, do not meet her alone, lest she bully you again. After some contemplation, I resolved to reveal the truth to him. She suddenly yielded because I held leverage over her. Evidence? My brother's tone was surprisingly filled with delight. You truly are my sister Su Yuan. I replied, If you cannot offer a genuine compliment, it is perfectly acceptable to refrain from doing so. Does this even make sense? What is it? My brother inquired, nudging my shoulder with curiosity. Let me see. This time, no one interrupted. The spiteful and venomous words of our grandmother resonated clearly in his ears. By the time the audio reached its midpoint, my brother could no longer contain himself. Shaking with rage, his already defiant expression intensified, resembling that of a ferocious wolf cub. It seemed as though he would soon wield 2 cleavers and charge from Causeway Bay to Tsim Shui. Fearing that his impulsiveness would disrupt my plans, I quickly interjected. After all these years, what does a moment matter? My brother looked at me with sorrowful eyes, saying, It's all my fault. If I hadn't been so reckless back then and had kept a closer watch on you, how could one blame you? He was merely a child back then, utterly powerless to effect any change. Moreover, who could have anticipated that a biological grandmother could possess such a cruel heart? On that day, my father expressed that he constantly thinks of you, and how could I not endure the torment every single day? My brother spoke with a strained tone. Since childhood, our grandmother has favored boys and shown disdain for girls. How could I possibly be oblivious to that? As a beneficiary, I have unreservedly accepted this bias, never once attempting to impede it. Since your disappearance, I have pondered each day whether things would have been different had I not allowed her to treat others unequally. Had I embraced the responsibility of being a brother. I was profoundly moved by his confession. I never anticipated that beneath his seemingly cynical exterior lay such delicate and tender sentiments. I deeply regret. I could have taken good care of you. My brother expressed profound remorse, even apologizing to me. I am truly sorry, dear sister. I am sincerely sorry. It's all right. I am acutely aware that he has been awaiting these very words from me, although I do not believe he is at fault. The entire ordeal has undoubtedly cast a nightmarish shadow over his life. Were the roles reversed, I could scarcely fathom achieving a better outcome than he has. Yet in this moment, it is precisely these 3 words that can liberate him from this 12-year-long nightmare. Grasping his cold hand, I stifle my tears and, feigning nonchalance, utter, "I forgive you, brother." Ah, my brother finally turned to me again. With reddened eyes, he struggled to muster a smile and embraced me tightly. "Thank you, Miao Miao." He choked out softly. "Thank you for coming home. Thank you for being my sister." Cough, cough. I allowed him to hold me so tightly that he could scarcely breathe. "I almost forgot." My brother exclaimed through gritted teeth. "I cannot let Grandma get away with such actions. I have no intention of letting her off the hook," I stated candidly. My brother gazed at me, his eyes reflecting an unreserved indulgence. With this recording as evidence, a minimum sentence of 3 years is anticipated. Allow me to assist you. Yet, even so, it cannot alleviate the suffering that our entire family has endured over the years. "Indeed," I replied. "That would be too trifling for her." My brother raised an eyebrow, looking at me with approval. "What do you intend to do?" The image of that sweltering summer afternoon resurfaces in my mind. The cacophony of cicadas, the melting ice cream, my grandmother's blurred and flustered silhouette. In all matters, one must elucidate the reasoning and clarify the distinctions between right and wrong. "Brother, do you not agree?" My brother was taken aback. "Is this really reasonable? Just this?" I nodded, offering no further explanation. The distant wail of an ambulance pierced the air. Shortly thereafter, my mother arrived. My brother passionately recounted the contents of the recording, refraining from playing it directly for her, fearing it might be too much for her to bear. I shall put an end to her. Merely listening to my brother's account, she was incensed beyond measure. She abruptly transformed from her usual gentle and graceful demeanor, rising to charge downstairs. "I shall end her this very moment." Mother. My brother interjected, "Please do not act impulsively." Impulsiveness? My mother turned around, tears glistening in her eyes. "Your sister has endured such immense suffering, and you dare to label this as mere impulsiveness?" she declared with indignation. "She has caused our mother-daughter bond to be severed for 12 long years. This is a matter of life and death for me. If I were to endure such treatment in silence, then I might as well not live at all. Moreover, Su Yuan, is this how I usually teach you?" As I witnessed the flames of anger indiscriminately directed towards my brother, I hastily intervened. "Mother, please do not be anxious. I have already formulated a plan." The expression on my mother's face shifted from anger to astonishment. In disbelief, she asked, "What did you just call me? Could you repeat that?" I responded, "It seems that the focus is not on this matter, is it? By the way, Mom, where is Dad?" My mother's expression suddenly darkened. I couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" "Some employees did not return home for the new year, so he went to the company to distribute red envelopes," my mother explained. "It is precisely because he is not at home that your grandmother summoned Su Tian to cause a commotion. My dear daughter, I have caused you undue suffering. Rest assured. Even if the King of Heaven himself were to intervene today, my mother would remain resolute." My mother's expression transformed into one of unwavering determination. It became apparent to me that she believed my father would value the bond of mother and son, thus choosing to maintain peace for my grandmother's sake. Initially, I shared this concern. After all, she is my biological mother, and at her advanced age, I felt a sense of obligation. The last time my father spoke harshly, my grandmother feigned unconsciousness, threatening to take drastic measures. I eagerly anticipated what new tactics my grandmother might employ this time. Naturally, if my father could overlook such matters, he would no longer deserve the title of father. When the time comes to discuss whether we should return to this home, we would all have a clear understanding of our positions. Mother, please calm down. I gently caressed her back, helping her to find her composure. It is not yet time for a complete showdown, I told them. This grudge, I wish to settle on my own. My mother's tears finally fell. She held me tightly, not releasing her embrace for what felt like an eternity, as if she sought to repay me for all the years of missing hugs in one moment. Yet, we both understood that the time lost can never be reclaimed. The chasm that lay between us could never be bridged. This was a struggle between two families, two eras, and two differing ideologies. Regardless of the outcome, the wounds of the past would never fade away. What would you like to do? Mother will assist you, my mother declared, seizing the moment to profess her affection. My dear daughter, you must believe that I will always love you and support you unconditionally. I felt a wave of embarrassment wash over me. My brother, seizing the opportunity, chimed in, I too shall always be here for you. If your approach proves ineffective for her, I shall employ my own methods. My sister. No one shall ever bully her. I was deeply touched. It dawned on me that this, indeed, is the essence of unconditional affection. Suddenly, the phone rang. After my mother answered, her expression turned grave. Your uncle and the others have arrived and are causing a ruckus at the hospital. As he approached the ward, he could distinctly hear a man's furious curses from a distance. The atmosphere was charged with agitation, and many others nearby were echoing his sentiments. Father, you have not witnessed the wretched appearance of that insufferable girl. She is particularly adept at feigning vulnerability. Utterly revolting, my cousin insinuated. Uncle and aunt must have been deceived by her. They pity her for having been away from home for so many years, which has led her to commit such acts. Dad, when Uncle C arrives later, you must speak to him properly, Su Tian said, her voice faltering. Aunt C was also deceived by her, which led her to act so unreasonably. I do not blame her. You are the eldest son in the family. Do not allow an obscure descendant to disrupt the harmony of our household. After all, a united family fosters prosperity and goodwill brings fortune, my cousin articulated with poise. Upon her conclusion, my uncle nodded in approval, remarking, You possess wisdom, unlike other young ladies who easily resort to tears and create unnecessary turmoil. Rest assured, Father will not allow you to endure this injustice in vain. That girl must have been misbehaving while she was out, for upon her return, she has caused such a commotion. Your fourth uncle and aunt may be indifferent, but your father will intervene and ensure that she offers you a sincere apology. My cousin, having found her support, adopted a most pitiful demeanor, reluctantly acquiescing to the demand. My brother, unable to contain his frustration any longer, was on the verge of storming in to deliver a sharp blow to my cousin's face had it not been for my mother's timely intervention. Indeed, it was my mother who proved more formidable, raising her voice at the door. Doctor, where is the doctor? Her voice resonated loudly, startling those within who were speaking ill of her. Their expressions shifted, caught off guard as if they had been gripped by a vulnerable pressure point, leaving them visibly embarrassed. Dear sister-in-law, when did you arrive? Inquired my uncle. My mother responded with a cold smile. I have been here since Tian Tian mentioned that wretched girl. My cousin, startled, instinctively recoiled. My uncle then stepped forward to divert the conversation, asking, What do you need a doctor for? I wish to inquire why all sorts of individuals are allowed in here. Are you not concerned about disturbing the patient's rest? The grandmother lay in her hospital bed, appearing quite emboldened, as if someone were backing her. Upon hearing my mother's words, she became even more theatrical, feigning an exaggerated display of suffering. Whom do you refer to as those insignificant creatures? Uncle exclaimed, his eyes widening. Is there even a semblance of a daughter-in-law? Mother has only been at your home for a few days, yet she has already been admitted to the hospital repeatedly. In the past, such an occurrence would have warranted kneeling in the ancestral hall and enduring lashes. I furrowed my brow, realizing the source of Su Tian's demeanor, steeped in the remnants of feudalistic ideology. Oh, my mother lazily lifted her gaze and recounted a rather dry joke. Then perhaps your esteemed Su family should cast me aside. Uncle 20 was momentarily taken aback, rendered speechless. My brother, lacking decorum, erupted into laughter. I too found it amusing, unable to suppress a smirk. What audacity it was to impose the antiquated customs of illustrious families upon our humble household. Father, surely not. My cousin stepped in to mediate, offering her father a way out. Having just been humiliated, my uncle seized the opportunity to vent his frustration. He forcefully shoved her aside and, with a pointed remark, declared, "Haven't laid a hand on you for 3 days. You insolent wretch, do you think this is a place for your opinions?" My cousin's expression stiffened, and she awkwardly fell silent. I caught a glimpse of her mortified and humiliated gaze, brimming with restrained tears. My heart ached for her for a brief 3 seconds. "Sweetie, your support is rather inadequate," my mother remarked with a hint of sarcasm. My uncle glared. "Are you out of your mind? What kind of talk is that?" My mother retorted, "I care not for your intentions. Keep your nose out of my affairs." Yet my uncle insisted, "My mother has been wronged, and as the eldest, it is my duty to intervene." "Has she been wronged?" my mother inquired. "Why did you not ascertain precisely what she has done?" "No matter what she has done, she is an elder, and you ought not to behave in this manner," my uncle remarked. "One must not forget their roots, without the elder raising the fourth." "Could you have achieved your current standing?" my mother countered, "even if she were to commit murder and arson?" My uncle's response was evasive. "A son does not disdain a mother's appearance, nor does a dog scorn a poor home. I am aware of your newfound wealth and your disdain for us impoverished relatives, but mark my words, such actions will bring about retribution." I inquired, "What would you say if she were to commit murder and arson, leading to the ruin of my family?" "You are utterly unreasonable and nonsensical," Uncle exclaimed, as if in a daze. "How could you insult our mother at her age?" The two were clearly not on the same wavelength in their argument. However, Grandma understood the gravity of our words. A flicker of panic crossed her face, but she quickly suppressed it. "Do not make any noise," she began to weep. "At my age, I might as well be dead." At that moment, the elder uncle suddenly interjected, "Mother, do not be afraid. If they do not take care of you, I and the third son will. You acted as you did for the sake of the fourth child and Xiao Yuan. If they possessed even a modicum of conscience, they ought to express gratitude towards you. From this, it seems he is already aware of the fact that my grandmother abandoned me. Do he and they regard it as something natural? Do they even believe she was justified in her actions? I appreciate it, but what you said makes no sense." My brother erupted in anger. "When I address you as uncle and acknowledge you as a relative, it is not an invitation for you to irritate me or to confuse right and wrong. This is illegal. Are your minds merely filled with the decayed remnants of feudalism, akin to a millennium-old excrement? Truly, a creative singer possesses a refreshing and unconventional way of chastising others." My uncle was taken aback by my brother's direct confrontation, tearing down the facade of civility. After much stammering, they failed to articulate anything of substance. Yet, my brother continued his tirade, "As for your family's throne, let whoever desires it take it. Do not feel the need to include me in your esteemed lineage, for I cannot afford such disgrace. Covering oneself with a quilt to slay a pig, this lifetime shall be entwined with you as kin. My sister, regardless of her circumstances, is the treasure of my heart. Who are you wretched creatures to cast judgment? Matters concerning my family should not concern you in the future." The audience was rendered speechless, utterly astonished by his remarkable solo performance. At that moment, my father's voice resonated from the doorway. "Xiao Yuan, how should one address your uncle?" A sudden jolt ran through my heart, as I feared he might side with my uncle. To my surprise, my father merely feigned concern. In the next breath, he deftly shifted the conversation and remarked, "You have finished your words. What did father say?" "Everyone, seeing that you were absent." As the other man in the household, I naturally felt compelled to step forward and protect these two beautiful and kind ladies. My father, with a sense of pride, patted him on the shoulder in agreement. My brother's words imparted a profound lesson to everyone present, particularly to my cousin, whose long-suppressed tears suddenly cascaded down her cheeks, replaced by a sardonic smile of self-deprecation. In the face of gender, the notion of fairness is a mere illusion. Yet, among girls. While some are met with care and tenderness, others are subjected to exploitation. Old 4, do not tell me that you have truly been brainwashed by this girl, to the point of defying your own mother. Uncle questioned with an intense demeanor. Indeed, you have married and forgotten your roots, a heartless and ungrateful being. Now that you possess wealth, you aim to rebel against the heavens. Your son intends to imprison members of the old Sioux family. You come, and you assist him in incarcerating us all. If you do not escort me inside today, we shall sever our ties, and you shall perish outside. Our ancestral grave of the Sioux family cannot accommodate a person of your stature. However, my father astutely grasped the crux of his words. How is it that after merely half a day away from home, I find myself unable to comprehend these words? My father glanced at my agitated uncle, then at my apprehensive grandmother, and finally, his gaze settled on my indignant brother. Xiao Yuan, please tell us what law Grandma has violated. I, as a mere junior, would not dare to act presumptuously in front of my esteemed elder uncle, my brother remarked with a hint of sarcasm. Perhaps it would be better to let the uncle himself speak. What did I say? Uncle glared, embodying the essence of intangible cultural heritage, pointing at my brother. You ungrateful, oblivious little brat. Grandmother is concerned that she might return to dispute the inheritance with you, so she cleverly extracted a few words from her. With that phone. All those words were recorded, threatening grandmother, asking her for money to compensate her adoptive parents. At this point, she cast a chilling glance at me. She has been cared for by them for over a decade. Her heart no longer aligns with yours, yet you still regard her as a treasure. With just 2 sentences, you've lost your senses. I raised an eyebrow, nearly amused. Who, indeed, has been sold and still paid for it, so easily deceived by mere words? Such fabrications. One daring to speak them, another daring to listen. They even had the audacity to spout nonsense in my presence. Did they truly believe I lacked the ability to speak? Did they think that the members of the old Sioux family were all mad, indifferent to the law? It seems, upon reflection, they are simply foolish. My brother was equally astonished that they could be so easily misled by such obviously flawed statements. My gaze shifted to my grandmother, who stood with her back to us, unsure if she was too embarrassed to look or simply too frightened. Is this what grandmother told you? I cast my gaze upon all those present. My uncle still regarded me as unworthy to converse with them. With a disdainful snort, he dismissed me entirely. I had no inclination to engage with him. Instead, I focused on grandmother's silhouette and inquired, Grandmother, did you say this yourself, or shall I? Grandmother stiffened, turning back to glare at me with a look of resentment. You are driving me to my grave. Grandmother roared, regardless of the circumstances, I am still your dear grandmother. Am I not entitled to scold you a little without it being a matter of life and death? What do you want me to say? I have already knelt before you. What more can I possibly utter? The grandmother began to pound the bed, wailing in despair. I understand that you find me bothersome, that you wish to avoid my presence and neglect my needs. Yet, I have expressed my desire to no longer live, and I shall refrain from visiting your home in the future. What more do you desire from me? Do you only find satisfaction in taking my life? With that, she threw off the covers, leaped from the bed, and rushed to the window, intent on jumping down. Her uncle and others hurriedly rushed forward to restrain her. Yet, she remained resolute. Let me perish. They will be satisfied once I am gone. I shall show them my demise today. As if deeply aggrieved, driven to the brink of despair, ready to leap from the heights. Old C, behold the good daughter you have raised. The elder uncle began to reproach my father. I understand that you are distressed by your daughter's disappearance, and thus have been somewhat lenient with her, yet you cannot allow her to so brazenly mistreat her mother. Then, according to your esteemed opinion, what should I do? My father appeared utterly speechless. At once, my uncle shouted loudly, slap her. How can a child become accomplished without discipline? Uncle remarked, if you are reluctant to take action, allow me to intervene personally. Today, she must kneel and apologize to our ancestors. With that, she rolled up her sleeves and approached me. My brother and mother immediately stepped in front of me, while my father placed his arm across my brother's chest, urging him to remain calm. Brother, Xiao Yuan has just made it abundantly clear that our family of four need not be included in the genealogy of the Lao Su family. Nor shall we be required to reside within the ancestral grave of the Lao Su family in the future. We are unworthy. After being cast out by the old Su family, our family of four found solace in our harmonious and tranquil existence, which was quite pleasant. However, to my surprise, my uncle was displeased and glared at me, saying, "Lao Si, have you lost your mind? To withdraw from the family tree means your parents raised you in vain. Doesn't it?" Oh, this is perplexing. Whether I withdraw or not seems to be a dilemma. Are the members of the old Su family truly so exalted? Indeed, they are quite difficult to appease. Nevertheless, I had not anticipated my father's resolute stance. Observing my uncle's reaction reveals the kind of education they have previously received. For my father to hold such views makes him an anomaly among them. He must have undergone considerable psychological adjustment, reshaping his perspective on familial bonds. Rather than expressing anger, my father even found the humor in the situation. She has nurtured me without expectation, and now I find myself fortunate to have acquired a precious daughter. A perfect balance between us. Brother, this is indeed the blessing of our esteemed Su family. You scoundrel! Uncle scolded with a mixture of frustration and disappointment. However, my father wore an expression akin to one receiving praise. Grandmother cried out, "Let them go, let them roll away, as though I never had the son." Uncle, glancing at my father's smug grin, was still unable to contain his anger and suddenly raised his hand as if to strike me. In an instant, my father's demeanor darkened. His gaze turned menacing. He seized Uncle's wrist with force and pushed him away. I believed I had articulated my point quite clearly just moments ago. My father, in his anger, possessed a certain intimidating authority. His gaze swept across the room, settling on my uncle's face, and suddenly he raised his voice. Resonating with conviction, "Are you incapable of understanding human speech?" My uncle, clearly taken aback by this unfamiliar side of my father, was momentarily stunned. Yet, he persistently retorted, "If you do not teach them now, they will inevitably become societal misfits as they grow older, and you will regret it then." Silence. My father exclaimed in anger, "I am indifferent to whatever you say about me, but should I hear any of you utter a single disparaging word about my daughter, I shall rip out your tongue and use it as a footstool. Do you understand?" The group trembled in fear, resembling frightened chicks, too intimidated to respond. Even my grandmother, unable to maintain her previous demeanor, retreated into the crowd, silencing her earlier confrontational stance. After such a commotion, tranquility was finally restored. At that moment, I remarked, "Uncle, you need not feel embarrassed. When I inevitably become a societal misfit in the future, you shall be the first I come to. So you can witness just how astute and perceptive you truly are." My uncle's expression darkened, and he averted his gaze, choosing to ignore me. Observing my light-hearted banter, my father relaxed slightly, approached me, and inquired, "What was it that Miao Miao intended to convey just now?" "Oh, I almost forgot," I said, calmly retrieving my phone. Without any forewarning, I played the recording. The volume was turned to its maximum, amplifying my grandmother's harsh and resentful voice, which echoed into the ears of everyone in the hospital room. "I perceive you as nothing more than a harbinger of misfortune, an unwelcome presence bringing ill fortune during this festive season. When you wandered off as a child, your father unexpectedly struck it rich and established a company. Your brother excels in his studies, possesses remarkable looks, and has now become a prominent star. All of this is thanks to me." "Ah!" Grandmother cried out in desperation, rushing forward to stop me. "Tomorrow, you shall return to your own home. This place is not your abode." The voice continued, each word laced with venom and malice, reminiscent of a cursed lament from a vengeful spirit of the underworld. "I should never have discarded you. I ought to have extinguished you instead, or drown in the river, thus sparing us from the unrelenting specter of your debt-collecting spirit." The expressions of the crowd turned grim, as if the grotesque facade of their hypocritical masks had finally been stripped away, revealing the despicable truth lurking beneath. Unable to intervene, Grandmother sank to the ground, weeping inconsolably. "Enough," my father said, holding me tightly, his voice gentle yet filled with distress. "Enough, Miao Miao. Shall we stop listening now?" As the recording concluded, I calmly put away my phone and embraced my father in return. I could feel his suppressed tremors, a manifestation of his unexpressed fury, and heard the deep, ragged breaths he took, laden with tension. An aura of palpable menace enveloped the room. The hospital ward was enveloped in a profound silence. My uncle and cousin seemed rendered mute at that moment. After a long pause, my father released me. I noticed his hands trembling incessantly, his expression grave, and his eyes reddened with unshed tears. After several deep breaths, he could no longer contain himself, and suddenly unleashed a torrent of emotions. "Why are you not cursing anymore? Weren't you so eloquent before? Is the Yu family not the epitome of reason, the champions of discernment? Isn't it time for some reasoning? Come forth. Who will engage in this discourse with me? Who?" With every utterance, he accuses our family of madness. Now, let us examine who truly is insane. Who possesses the capacity to commit such despicable acts beneath the dignity of both swine and hounds? My father's chest heaved violently amidst his fury. There lay an abyss of anguish and injustice. It has been 12 years, exactly 12 years, since I have been unable to close my eyes. At that time, I was utterly incapable. My daughter, afflicted by illness, was both frail and short. Each time she underwent injections or took her medicine, her face would contort in pain, rendering her a pitiful sight. Yet, I could not even afford to buy her a single piece of candy. At that time, the moments I found most serene were when I returned home from work and regaled her with stories to lull her to sleep. This made me feel, regardless of my exhaustion, that I was the most valuable person in the world. It is not she who needs me, but rather I who need her. My father gazed at my grandmother, tears streaming down his face. He could not comprehend her actions. "You incessantly claim to have my best interests at heart. Yet do you truly understand my thoughts? Have you ever considered the feelings of a father like myself? Have you discarded her without fear that she may encounter misfortune and perish in some forsaken corner? For these 12 years, have you not seen me frantically searching, without a shred of regret in your heart?" My father demanded in a sharp tone, "Do you not dream of her, feeling even a twinge of conscience?" The intensity of my father's demeanor was indeed somewhat frenzied, causing my uncle to fear for my grandmother's safety and urgently push him aside. My father, who had no intention of sparing anyone's feelings, especially not at that moment, forcefully shoved him away and pointed at the people present. "Today, should anyone stand in my way, let them not blame me for my relentless pursuit. Enough, forth. What is the point of this?" Uncle attempted to console him in reverse. "Haven't we found it now?" No sooner had the words left his lips than my father delivered a swift punch to his face. The man was sent sprawling to the side, clutching his face in shock as he stared at my father, rendered speechless and trembling. Fear coursed through him, coupled with a profound sense of humiliation, his complexion paling significantly. My cousin rushed forward to assist him. My father, embodying the demeanor of a seasoned leader, crouched before him, narrowing his eyes as he observed him intently, cryptically stating, "You have never lost a daughter, so refrain from speaking with such indifference." With a glance at her cousin, she let out a cold laugh, however. "Even if you had lost one, I suppose you would not feel any sorrow." Her cousin's expression stiffened, struck at her emotional core, and she bowed her head, weeping uncontrollably. "Who said that?" Uncle retorted stubbornly. "Is there any parent who does not care for their child? It is merely that." "Cease your futile excuses," my father said coldly as he stepped past him. "The hypocritical facade of your family truly disgusts me." Upon hearing this, my grandmother slapped her thigh, her expression one of utter dismay as if the sky were falling. "My good intentions have been mistaken for malice, and my son has become an adversary. I could perish from this anguish. May the heavens strike me down." My father approached her, towering above with clenched fists, his teeth gritted in fury. The intensity of his gaze was enough to instill fear even within me. His fists, as large as sandbags, seemed poised to descend upon my grandmother at any moment. Yet, my father managed to restrain himself. "Why? He suppressed his anger and asked his grandmother, "How can you still believe you are in the right at this moment?" This is also the question I have longed to ask. Whence does this unwavering confidence and self-assurance of my grandmother arise? I was never in the wrong, Grandma retorted, her neck stiffening. Are you not aware of the exorbitant costs associated with her illness? Mother sees how exhausted you are, and my heart aches for you. How much easier would your days be without her? If you desire a daughter, why not simply have another? Why insist on this one who is afflicted? Is it truly fair to treat me this way over matters that are long past? Do you honor the memory of our departed father? I am your mother. If I did not wish for your well-being, why would I have gone through so much hardship to raise you and your siblings? Child, how could your mother ever harm you? Grandmother's self-proclaimed heartfelt confession left everyone in shock. The first to turn against her was my cousin, who could no longer contain her indignation and exclaimed, 27 enough. Is it not because you perceive her merely as a girl that you act in this manner? If that person had been Brother Yuan or my younger brother, I doubt you would have been willing to part with them. Surely, you would go to great lengths, even risking everything you possess, to seek a remedy. Perhaps all the members of the old Su family must unite in their efforts to continue your cherished lineage. This statement undoubtedly left everyone astonished. Before the thought was fully articulated, the elder uncle sprang to his feet and pulled her, exclaiming, "You foolish girl! What nonsense are you spouting? Did I say something wrong?" My cousin broke free from my uncle, unleashing a torrent of emotion. If I had been the one back then, you would never have been able to find me until today. My uncle stood frozen, gazing at my cousin as if he had never truly known the girl before him. Because I am a daughter. Just because I am also a daughter. My cousin wept inconsolably. The atmosphere in the hospital room was unbearably oppressive. Prior to this moment, no one had ever considered my cousin's feelings. It had always been taken for granted. Society assumed that girls were destined to undertake household chores, endowed with the capacity to provide warmth and healing, and were not meant to indulge in play. Their academic performance was deemed unimportant, and whether or not they pursued higher education was of little consequence, as was the quality of their future employment. After all, they were ultimately destined for marriage. Eventually, they would be traded for a dowry, which meant that there was no need to prepare a home for them or invest significant effort in their futures. All resources, both nurturing and financial, were to be bestowed upon the boys of the family in exchange for a harmonious and blissful household. The daughters had committed no wrongdoing. It was the choices of the parents that were flawed. "I no longer care," Uncle said dejectedly. "Do as you please. I can no longer manage this." Upon hearing this, Grandmother, filled with terror, implored Uncle. She was afraid. Even the simplest act of retribution seemed beyond her capacity to bear. "Little sister, shall I call the police now?" my brother inquired. Upon hearing this, Grandma immediately cried out for mercy. I cannot bear to languish in a prison. It would be better for me to perish than to be confined within those walls." Grandmother realizes her mistakes. "Miao Miao, I acknowledge my wrongdoings. I am truly sorry for having abandoned you." As she spoke, she struck her own face with great force. "I am confused. I am a sinner. It is all my fault." "Cease the pretense," I uttered coldly. Realizing the futility of her efforts, she finally halted her actions and lifted her gaze to meet mine. "Qian, are you truly so heartless? Am I truly heartless?" I shook my head. "You are quite adept at turning the tables." My brother, concerned that she might lose her composure once more, stepped in to protect me. "I shall report to the authorities now," he declared. "Fourth brother, this," Uncle interjected in an attempt to dissuade. "Family disgrace should not be aired in public. How will others perceive us if we send our own grandmother to prison?" My father retorted angrily, yet it was she who first harmed my daughter, jeopardizing our entire family. Uncle was left speechless. My brother began to dial a number. The terror and remorse etched on grandmother's face grew increasingly intense. Yet I understood that she had yet to recognize her wrongdoing. I halted my brother's actions. "I do not wish for you to report to the authorities. However, I have a condition." The grandmother was taken aback, yet it was evident that she felt a sense of relief. "Dear sister, You cannot possibly consider forgiving her after all she has done to you, my brother disapproved, his voice tinged with concern. I pulled him aside, and as our family of four gathered closely, I expressed my thoughts candidly. This matter dates back quite a long time, and if one were to investigate thoroughly, my adoptive parents would also be implicated. I understand that I should wield the weapon of the law, however, matters in this world are seldom purely black or white. There exists a multitude of gray areas ensnared by the complexities of human relationships. Therefore, even if one were to report her to the authorities, this matter cannot be conclusively categorized. It cannot be classified as trafficking, at most. It may be deemed an act of abandonment, not sentenced for many years. Should we just let her be like this? My brother was filled with indignation. Certainly not, I replied. Evil individuals have their own means of retribution. There exists a torment far more excruciating than alerting the authorities to apprehend her, sentencing her to a decade in prison, or even taking her life. What? My brother asked, puzzled. However, our parents already had the answer, looking at me with relief. I turned around and said to my uncle, "We have decided not to report it." Upon hearing this, my grandmother's expression transformed from grave to joyous, even taking on a smug demeanor as she regarded us. However, I looked down upon my grandmother with a condescending gaze and spoke. Firstly, she intends to sever ties with my father, declaring that her care in old age shall have no connection to our family. A contract will be signed and published, rendering it permanently effective. Secondly, the Lao Su family has expelled her from the family lineage, forbidding her entry into the ancestral grave after her death. Thirdly, I hope that all elders will strictly adhere to the rules of the Lao Su family and impose severe penalties regarding this matter that tarnishes our family's reputation, thereby providing me with an explanation and serving as a deterrent to others. For an ordinary person, these three conditions might seem inconsequential. However, for grandmother, they were akin to being thrust into a cauldron of fire or descending into the depths of hell, a torment from which there is no escape. The power of magic surpasses that of ordinary weaponry, and her reaction became far more intense than at first. "Milky, I implore you, please do not treat me this way." With that, she broke into heart-wrenching sobs. A nurse from the hospital was summoned and reprimanded. "What is all this noise? This is a hospital. Silence is mandatory." It seemed as though Grandma had seized upon a lifeline. Doctor, I beg for your help. They're intent on bringing harm to this frail old body of mine." The nurse said, "Auntie, all your health indicators are normal. You will be fine for the time being. The hospital is currently experiencing a severe shortage of beds. So, if you are not feeling unwell, it is best to return home and rest." After unmasking Grandma's facade, she departed quietly, concealing her merits and fame. "Boss, please say something. You are my most beloved son. You cannot allow them to bully your mother like this." The uncle, wearing a stern expression and appearing quite troubled, ultimately rolled up his sleeves and spoke a word of justice. "Mother, in this matter, it is indeed you who have erred. The child, no matter how flawed, is still a part of our family. How could you be so heartless?" My uncle sighed deeply. "Mother, I apologize. You must choose for yourself whether to face a lengthy imprisonment or to follow the method proposed by Miao Miao." Grandmother finally realized that everything was beyond redemption, and I had returned solely for the purpose of vengeance. She looked up at me, silent, but her tear-soaked eyes reflected a genuine sense of regret and despair, reminiscent of the way I once awaited her return to embrace me. "I cannot languish in prison, for it would leave an indelible mark on my record, affecting 3 generations to come." Grandmother covered her face, burdened by the age-old family rules of the Sioux lineage that had weighed upon her throughout her life. "Those who tarnish the family's reputation shall receive 10 strokes. Those who disrupt familial harmony shall receive 10 strokes. Those who engage in slander shall receive 10 strokes." After a prolonged period of dread endured by my grandmother, the absurdity finally came to a close. My father, at the hospital, signed a contract of estrangement with her, which was then entrusted to a lawyer for notarization. My uncle and his party took my grandmother back to the village of Sioux, binding her at the ancestral hall. erasing her name. Subsequently, she was subjected to 30 strokes of the family punishment, personally administered by her third uncle. The beating left her skin torn and flesh mangled. Having just emerged from the hospital, she found herself readmitted. These details were relayed to me by my cousin. After witnessing such events, she engaged in deep reflection. Realizing she had been indoctrinated by my grandmother and uncle, believing it was her duty to sacrifice everything for the men of the family. My grandmother had already paid the price for her misguided beliefs. She could not follow in her grandmother's footsteps. She yearned to escape this stifling prison and to live for herself. I have found a factory job. I shall work diligently and strive to never return to that village again, my cousin remarked. I turned off the screen, gazing at my parents who were busily helping me pack, and at my brother, who was feigning melancholy while cradling his guitar. A smile unconsciously crept across my face. Tomorrow, there will be a lantern festival for the Lantern Festival. We will return after watching it, my mother remarked while tidying up. It's a perfect opportunity to discuss the transfer with your foster parents. The educational resources here are considerably superior, and they all hope that I can transfer. Initially, I had only intended to spend the new year here, but unexpectedly, I stayed until the Lantern Festival. My foster parents missed me and asked my parents to send me back. Thus, this scene unfolds before me. I have everything arranged, my father said. If Miao Miao decides to transfer schools, we will bring her adoptive parents along. If she prefers not to change schools, our entire family will go to her. In conclusion, the family is united. My brother finally set down his guitar, smiling as he remarked, "The most important thing is to be happy." Under the dazzling neon lights of the night, as the full moon graced the sky, we were together as one. I felt an overwhelming joy. This world is fraught with pitfalls and numerous shades of gray, yet fortunately, I have emerged unscathed. End of text.